welcome to episode 5, is it? Yeah, episode 5 of the Velocity Radio podcast. I'm here today with a special guest, and the special guest that I'm here today with is Kirsty. So Kirsty has done a majority of different things and been very, very successful as a female bodybuilder, haven't you, Kirsty?
Yes.
To say the least, anyway. So Kirsty holds a number of different titles, most notably the one that you see here if you are watching on YouTube. Which one's that, Kirsty?
That is the IBFA Miss Athletic First Place 2018.
2018, and you've got a total of different overall wins to your name as well, haven't you, Kirsty?
Yes.
Yes. So we'll get into those anyway. But just before we start, I've known Kirsty a long time, personally through work and through family, and it's always good to see somebody close achieve such great things when they're putting their mind to it. So, Kirsty, just before I go any further, could you just introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Kirsty. I work currently at Eden Training. Like you said, that's one of the reasons that we know each other. Also, one of the reasons that I got into fitness as well. Mainly, I focus on bodybuilding. That is my area of fitness. That's kind of what I enjoy and what I love doing. Titles wise, I have titles ranging from Miss Yorkshire, Miss Manchester, ranging from toned figure, and they go up to athletic figure from 2017, early 2017 all the way through to late 2018. Training wise, I've been training for about 6 years. Competing wise, approximately 3 years. So I've actually achieved quite a lot competition wise, title wise, in quite a small space of time.
Definitely.
So that's me.
It's a little bit about yourself. So Kirsty, just to run through a couple of accolades that you've got. You've already mentioned a few. Are there any others that you've got in terms of titles where you've done them as well? So I know the one that you've got there. Did you have to go to Rome for that? Was it?
No, that wasn't the Rome one. No. So this was the British finals. That was in Gateshead.
The British finals. That's the British. And you went to the Worlds, didn't you?
I did. I came third in the World.
Yeah.
Which is,
imagine that.
I know, it was quite fantastic. Just to be able to say that I went to Italy, represented Great Britain, and stood on international stage, and came third was amazing. Really, really, really good.
That's great. And if you think as well, like Italy, Rome, of one place to do it, it's like with the home of the Colosseum and like the gladiatorial background that it's got there from Romans.
And also the best gelato, I think.
Gelato, and that gelato, pizza, pasta.
Oh God, the food was amazing.
Yeah, Carb City basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. So, but I mean, title wise, the first time I competed, I didn't place.
Yeah.
But then going forward from that, I took a bit of time out to sort of reflect on what the judges had said, listen to the feedback, and I worked with a coach who actually lives in Doncaster in my hometown, and I went back as toned figure. I won the Miss Yorkshire, but I also won the overall show title for that one as well.
At the show, so the overall, just for guys that are listening that don't understand like bodybuilding shows, so what's the difference between your category and say winning an overall?
So it's slightly different with men and women. So with the women, you've got toned, athletic, trained figure, and then bikini.
Yeah.
So they're the 4 different figures and shapes. The overall, what happens is all the girls who win each category will then go into the overall category.
Right, yeah.
And then what the judges do is pick the athlete that most suits their criteria.
So their criteria for is it a given for a given category that they're in? So say like if you've got the bikini girl going in,
they've got their criteria.
They've got
If you've got toned, then there's toned criteria. Athletic, there's athletic criteria. So for example, my category is athletic currently, and you have to have muscle size and shape, but you also have to have a symmetrical look as well. So full glutes, full delts, and then a nice V taper around the waist area with also shaped legs.
Right.
And you have to be quite conditioned, which means you have to be quite lean. So you bring your leanness down to a state of sort of, I usually get to about 9% body fat.
Yeah,
so,
which for a female, that's your death's door type of stuff.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. But the overall winner, that's what they're doing, is the judges are saying, right, so this person fits their category the best out of the whole.
I get you. So it's not particularly down to that judge just saying, I like you better.
Yeah.
It's like, right, you fit your criteria better out of everybody that stood up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Which makes it kind of more fair as well.
Yeah,
if you
definitely.
think of it. Yeah,
definitely.
Because obviously your females that maybe within different categories will actually hold more muscle mass, will actually need to be more conditioned for their given category. So it kind of makes sense and makes it almost like a level playing field.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think the thing is as well is with the overall, there's so many different variances, like you said, but it could be that, well, say for example, in the trained figure, there might have only been 3 or 4 competitors in that class.
Right, yeah.
And the winner will be the best person in that class on that day.
Right.
Whereas actually the bikini girl that was out of 20 was far superior at meeting her criteria.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It does even the playing field a bit, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Do you know what? That's one thing I never knew.
Yeah,
That's one thing I never knew. In my eyes, it were always the overall is whatever the judges like the best type of thing. But no, that it does make sense when you think about it like that. Yeah, definitely. So, looking at your bodybuilding background then, Kirsty, we've kind of gone over your accolades and what you've done, but what was the reason why you first started?
You're going to love this, actually, because the reason that I started was actually you.
What?
Seriously, and I know you never knew this.
No, little old me.
Yeah, so it was 2015, we did the first Body Power, didn't we? We had stalls at the Body Power, and I helped out with Simpler Lean. Yeah. And the year after, you competed.
Yeah.
So then... that was, you competed at Body Power, and I remember seeing you up there and getting all the tan and seeing the girls walking around and thinking, I really want a piece of this. I really want a piece of that action. And then I went on holiday the month after, and then the month after that went, right, I'm going to do it, and got on prep.
Brilliant. Oh no, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, if my non-placement inspired somebody to actually take it up as a sport, then by all means, fair goes, fair do. No, brilliant. That's great to hear. No, I never knew. That was like the fire.
Well,
I'm trying to think. Was that my first or my second? I can't remember. 2015, did you say?
2015 was when we all worked the Body Power stalls, and then 2016 was the one that I saw you actually compete at Body Power.
Do you remember what colour shorts I had?
Oh my god!
I know, I can't bloody remember the difference between two now. Which one it was?
Do you know how I remember which one it was? It was the one that you did the arm wrestle.
That was my first one.
Right,
yeah,
well, that was my first one. That was like the lit the fire.
Yeah.
The 2016 one, I was like, right, I'm definitely doing this.
Definitely doing it. It is such an adrenaline rush, isn't it? When you get up there and you kind of like you've done the full however many weeks it is that you've just focused on this one specific goal. Yeah. And then you get up there, you kind of strut your stuff. You do whatever you want to do up there, and if you place, you place. If you don't, you don't. And then obviously some people are more successful than others. And but yeah, it's that's a good story actually. Yeah, thank you. I quite enjoyed that one.
There you go.
So yeah, that got you into it. But then overall, what got you into fitness? What got you into the gym?
Do you know what? Actually, it was about. I've always been into fitness. I used to dance when I was younger, so I was a very avid dancer. I was 4 or 5 times a week I used to practice that, so fitness has always been part of me anyway. And then I actually the breakdown of my marriage about 6 years ago kind of kick-started me to go, do you know what, you need to get back on track, you need to get back your health back, you need to get you back. And I started going back to the gym properly and actually training properly again, and then about a year after that, actually started properly training. Yeah. That then, I came to you. Yeah, and I got all my qualifications. So I got my level 2 in exercise instruction. Then I went on to do the level 3 PT. Personal trainer, and then the level 3 GP referral within a short space of time. And then started training with people. Yeah. That then obviously gave me the knowledge when it came to lifting weights. So that was sort of like the prior knowledge before any start of bodybuilding competitions anyway. Yeah. So fitness has always been a part of my
Yeah.
story, if you like.
Yeah. So even if you think from a dancing background, even though it totally doesn't cross-reference into, say, for example, bodybuilding.
You'd be surprised.
But females, when you're up there and you're presenting, but I'm on about like the more training side of things.
Oh yeah, no.
but you're still gaining that discipline in terms of like enjoying to get up and move and all that type of stuff. But yeah, like as you said, I'd be surprised. But in regards to the presentation, what you do on stage, because I mean, do you have to do your own routine when you get up there, and is there specific things that you need to include in a routine?
Not particularly, no. I mean, when you first get onto stage, you have got your quarter turns, so you've got your front, either side, and then your rear shot, just to show the physique. The judges are basically judging that you fit that criteria for that category.
Yeah.
And then you have your individual posing routines. Now, there's no set, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. You see a lot of people coming on and doing loads of dancing and like really... For me, the posing routine is a posing routine. It's an opportunity to show off your best assets.
Yeah.
So a little bit of dance and transition in between poses, but very much posing. And that's kind of how I go with...
Yeah.
It's all about the presentation of your hard-earned physique.
Exactly, yeah.
That's kind of where I go with that.
Yeah, the presentation of a physique. So even if you think of like the old kind of pumping iron videos with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's saying things like, look to pose, look to not pose like a small person, look to pose like a big person, and show your your good points and your strengths compared to your weaknesses and so on. But no, that's great. So the importance of your posing, have you learned some things down the line of your posing? So when you first started compared to where you're at now, has it ever felt kind of foreign when you were doing your posing, or have you grown into it?
No, I have very much. I think my dance background has helped heaps when it comes to posing, because the transition stage in between posing for me comes very naturally. And I have been working with some girls doing some posing practice that struggle with those transitions.
Yeah.
But I think the very first time that I competed in 2016, because obviously the presentation of the muscle was new. It was a new skill, and I did work with a posing coach. She gave me some really good pointers on this is how you stand and this is how to move, and she kind of showed me the basics that I needed to know. Yeah. So then when it got to stage and I got to actually putting it into practice, it kind of just clicked, and then I was like, this is why, and this is why. The age-old issue with posing is once you get a little bit of muscle on your structure, it's so much easier, because as you'll know in the gym, your mind-muscle connection. So when you're doing a lat pull-down, you want to feel your lats. You close your eyes, you feel your lats. It's the same with posing. I want to do a back pose and show my lats. So you have to really get a real good mind-muscle connection so that you can feel the movement that you're aiming for. Yeah.
And have you ever thought of those like little internal cues that you can give yourself, so little internal triggers? So say, for example, on the lat pull down, have you almost imagined like tucking your elbows into your pockets almost and trying to like squeeze it and trying to like just almost trying to make yourself think more about that mind muscle connection, and almost like visualize an anatomy chart in your head and just be like, right, this is the movement that I do in order to make this muscle fire and stimulate a lot more.
Absolutely. One of the things, and they sound completely educational at all, but like one of the things I teach the posing clients is like with the lat spread, getting your lats out, push and pull. And that sounds really daft, but I said if you face in front, if you imagine someone pulling and pushing, same with the glutes, I always tell people to shelf it. And then when I say shelf it, it's like making a shelf with the bum. Do you know? And it's just those silly words which aren't anything that are educational or related, but they remember it because it's funny.
Exactly. You'll know that the greatest teachers are some people that can make things that are very complex so simple to people, and that's what makes a great teacher. Brilliant. So you talked about a little bit about a posing coach, and you took a posing coach on. Do you feel that the need for a posing coach, especially when people are first starting out, would you find it beneficial for them to have?
Absolutely. The thing is, I have seen on stage some girls, and men as well, to be honest, that have amazing physiques, and they let themselves down when it comes to posing because they're not they're not showing us the physique that they
Yeah.
clearly have.
Yeah.
And if you're stood at the side of somebody that doesn't look anything but presents themselves and shows every muscle they've got, it can be a first or a second place.
Yeah, and that's the
So-
difference that you're talking about, presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it were the Arnold Classics where Arnold Schwarzenegger brought in like 40% kind of the whole posing routine. The posing routine was 40% of your overall score.
Yeah.
And I think I remember one year, Kai Green came and did one, and started doing like loads of break dancing and like throwing his like ponytail around and all that type of stuff. And I think that was the year that you were on about. Oh well, it were between Kai Green and it were between I forget the guy now. He won it a couple of years ago. But it were between them anyway. But Kai Green won it because he had a flawless posing routine, and he just keeps battering on about that age-old posing does Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So when you talked about your posing and your division, you've kind of talked about the areas that your division's women's athletic needs. So what about the key body areas when you come to a training split for a women's athletic physique then? Does your training split require, say for example, if you want in quite a wide deltoids and shoulders, would you incorporate that 2 or 3 times a week, or would dependent on the person really? But
yeah, I think it completely is dependent on the individual.
yeah,
So like for example, my weak spot is always my legs. I
right,
just need a bigger sweep.
yeah,
So and also glutes are quite heavily marked on females as well.
Okay.
So all lower bodies twice a week without
Twice a week.
fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I can't get out of bed, I'm going to the gym to train legs.
yeah, Great.
Yeah. So legs are always done twice, but then I think it is completely dependent upon the person. So like for example, chest is not necessarily something that women need to train as hard as what they might do delts. So I only do them every 10 days.
Right, that's your chest, sorry.
Chest,
Yeah.
So I'll train chest 10 days, every 10 days, and then back I'll train once a week. Delts I'll train at least once a week, but then on the week I'm not doing chest, I'll train delts again.
Right, yeah.
So it kind of, usually I do 5 days a week in the gym. 2 of those are leg days, back day, delt day, and then if I'm training chest, I'll train chest. If not, then I'll do delts again.
Do delts, yeah.
'Cause delts give you your top line.
They do. It's that if you think of it, like the outline, the silhouette almost of what that gives you. No, that's great. If only I had your dedication for legs.
I love legs. People say I try and split it actually because glutes are like I say such a big part. I've actually broken legs down completely to front and rear.
Yeah.
So a lot of quad work one day and then a lot of ham work the other day. So quads, then it means that glutes get blasted twice a week.
That was my next question for you actually. Do you have a separate kind of leg days and how you split them up? So you're looking at more like anterior and posterior different days, but your glutes incorporate both. Would you say?
Yeah. So things like I don't like overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
So like for example, I trained quads the other day and I did a Smith machine squat and I didn't do heavy, kept it really simple, really slow and steady, and really got the muscle group firing. Lunges, walking lunges, and then weighted walking lunges, and then just normal stud lunges back and forth, deadlifts, leg press, and then kickbacks.
Yeah. Sometimes you see all of these wacky different exercises coming about now, don't you? Especially with the rise of social media. So resistance bands on everything. I can't wait for functional training to go digital. It's gonna be time. It's literally gonna be a couple of years, and then that's gonna happen. So you've got loads of different bloody wacky and weird ways how you can do it, but at the end of the day, I'm a big believer if you actually want in mass on a certain area, then you're just going to stick to the basic movements that your body's incorporated and been made to do.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Absolutely.
And you just touched on a point there as well, where you said you were taking it nice and steady. You didn't necessarily have a load of weight on it. It was one thing I heard Dr. Scott Stevenson talking about on a podcast episode. Dr. Scott Stevenson, have you heard of Jordan Peters, trained by JP?
Yeah.
Well, Jordan Peters had Scott Stevenson as a coach when he was up and coming and relates a lot of his kind of quotes and things to him. And and he were on about, look, at the end of the day, you can go for a heavyweight powerlifting style of training, but if you're looking for that metabolic damage to a muscle, you've got to just try and keep the tension within it.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily about moving the weight from A to B, because if you just try and do that as hard as you can, you've potentially lost the connection there within that muscle, and you're just putting a lot of stress through the tendon and the ligament, as opposed and the snapback effect of them, as opposed to the actual muscle tissue working. Yeah,
absolutely. Thing is, I've seen there's a lot of high profile bodybuilders that will put plans out on social media for people to pick. Like Dorian Yates is he's got a plan out there which I have looked at, and I actually tried at the end of last year, in my off season. And he is very much about intense, you're in, you're out, a warm-up set of 8 reps, and then 4 sets of 4, as heavy as you can go. You know, he's very sort of quick in and out, which obviously worked for him. Yeah. But I found that spending a bit longer and actually taking the time to feel the muscle, you can feel the muscle breakdown. That sounds a bit daft, but you can actually feel that muscle breakdown when you take that time. You know yourself when you're in that lactic threshold, and you can feel it. Yeah, you can. Your face goes a different colour, and it's almost like you can taste the lactic acid on a leg extension, for example. And and that within that metabolic damage brings in muscle breakdown and new growth through rest and recovery. Definitely. Absolutely. But yeah, as you've said, I mean, different folks, different strokes. Law of individuality comes down to it a lot more for different people. Dorian Yates, for example, like you said. I always remember it was down at Body Power one of the years. I actually think it was the first ever year that we were down at Body Power. I just kind of just poked my head into one of these, like how they have like lecture halls and people are giving talks and things. I cannot for the life of me remember the company name, but it were a company that did a lot of kind of biochemistry, that had took your DNA and then they'd found out what kind of sets, rep ranges and all that type of. I don't know if I've never looked into it before or after, so I don't know that much about it, but there were kind of one quote that resonated to me, and it was you've got different style of lifters. You've got your Dorian Yates, but then you've also then got your people like Arnold, and then you've got your people like Ronnie Coleman, you've got your Jay Cutlers, all got different styles of training. So Dorian Yates, like you said, 4x4, like heavy, intense, like gut busting type of reps that you're doing. Whereas then you may have somebody like an Arnold or like a Jay Cutler that were very big on metabolic damage and look to kind of like get that lactic acid threshold built up. So at the end of the day, who were right and who were wrong? Well, they've all been Mr. Olympia. So absolutely. Nobody were right, nobody were wrong. I mean, it's what worked for them within their training style, definitely. Which causes so much controversy on social media. This is how you do it because this is how Arnold did it, and this is how you do it because this is how Dorian did it, and but everybody has their own opinion, which is fine, but then there's so many people on social media that get caught up in this is how you've got to do it because this is what someone said. When like you say, it's completely individualized. My favourite's like this is how you've got to do it because the biggest guy in my gym said that's how you do it. Excellent. And I was like, no, choose your mentors. Look who you're listening to. So as along with all your success has also brought your name to kind of rise up as a person within the industry and the bodybuilding community. This has kind of then also ushered you into judging a little bit, has it, Kirsty? So talk to me a little bit about your judging. How did that come about and what have you done? I am actually judging on Sunday. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Right. Oh, brilliant. What show is that? It's the FMU, Future Muscle Union. Right. I'm going to be at Manchester, Middleton Arena. Brilliant. Dave Foster, he organises these shows. It was actually the very first show that I won that he was organising this event for the FMU. And obviously saw something in me, and just through sort of like contact on social media within groups and things like that, and attending certain different shows, and then I have attended a couple of his other shows. I currently hold the Miss Manchester title still, so I'll be handing that one over on Sunday. Miss Manchester. So that's a proper Yorkshire. I've gone over to Manchester and I've took your title away from you. I'll do Yorkshire and now I'll come and get Manchester. You can have it back now. I'm done with it. But But yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I judged the first time last year. I did the Mr. and Miss Yorkshire 2018 for Dave, and absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. It's quite stressful actually, thinking, because like this is in your hands, and the first time that I did it, I did have a very experienced judge at the side of me, and he was just sort of checking that I was making the right decision and why I was getting to that decision, and he agreed with everything that I made, and every decision I made was in line with what the other judges, who were very experienced, had said. So I had quite a good mentor from that point of view. But yeah, no, it's really good. I'm actually thinking about crossing over into a couple of different federations as well to
judge or
great.
I'm
going to enter their judging programs.
So what things do you look for when you're judging? Because when you're judging, again, excuse my ignorance on this, I've never been a bodybuilding judge in my life, but you're there for the full day. So then you see a wide variety of the different categories. Do you have like a set criteria list for each of them?
Yes.
And then, but like, do you have it there in front of you, or do you revise it? Yeah.
No, they can give us it. They send us it out. Dave sends us it out. We've actually just had it on Monday, actually.
Right.
So he'll send us it out a week before.
Yeah.
For his qualifying shows, it's generally the same criteria anyway. But he does have a set of criteria for each show, each category. Sorry, and they'll always make sure that there's a copy of those on the judging table on the day as well.
Right. Oh, so that's good. So what's kind of the hardest thing about being a judge, would you say?
I think it's the speed.
Right.
I found. So we get the first quarter turns. So the category will come out. They do the quarter turns. So front pose, side, rear, and then the other side, and then back to the front, and then they're asked to leave the stage, and then they come and do their individual posing routines. And for me, sometimes if it's a sort of like 5 or 6 in a category, that's fine.
Yeah.
Any more than that, and I'm kind of like, oh, but I missed them, and and then they come and they do the routines, and I'll sort of look at what their good points are and make notes on any weaker areas while they're doing that. But then obviously we do get the opportunity while they do their compulsory turns, when they come back on, to then reevaluate and then score. So I think the speed of it, the way it...
I was going to say...
Because I was new to it as well.
Yeah. That'd be one thing. Trying to, like, you're almost trying to look at the criteria and trying to pick it out of each individual whilst it's all happening at the same... I can imagine that being a very, very difficult thing to do, actually. How many judges are there at the time?
He tries to have a minimum of 7.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, so there's usually sort of between 7 and 10.
Yeah.
He does generally try and plan for 10, but I think there's only 7 at Manchester this time.
Right.
But he does try and plan for minimum 7.
Yeah. Well, I can see why you'd need quite a lot of judges, because if you need a lot of different people's opinions, but also for everybody to at least be looked at by at least a judge at the same time. So do you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is as well, I think he likes to try and get judges from different categories in as well. So like I know one of the girls that's joining us, Claire, she is a toned lady. Yeah. So she's coming in to judge. And then one of the other guys, Leon, he's a Mr. Class. Right. So they do try and get from different categories so that there's a wealth of experience across the table. Brilliant. So, yeah. No, that's fantastic. What we'll have a look at now is the progression of you as an athlete and yourself as like your own physique then. So what year was your first show again? So 2016. 2016? October. Yep. So I mean you're talking 3 years? 3 years progression that we're going to be having a look at here. So that's a relative short time frame, but then having a look at the progression in your physique, that's a good progression within that time frame at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So looking back at your first show now, I mean, we're going to get these pictures up here for the guys that are watching on YouTube. What are your points looking back in your physique? Because obviously it's a fantastic physique that you've presented there. But what points did you feel that you then had to bring up from that first show that you did there? Is that the Open Yorkshire Classic? Yeah, so that's the Open Yorkshire Classic. The first competition that I didn't research coaches. I went to a local gym and found a local coach and just went with it. Yeah. And he wasn't very forthcoming with exactly what I needed to do, and I over cardioed, and as a result of that, I lost any sort of lower muscle. So like my glutes and my legs were very they weren't very muscle heavy, and then because I dieted quite hard and quite quickly, I looked a bit emaciated in the first couple of shows I did.
So do you mean like, are you meaning like separation and things like that? I
was very lean,
and
you can see in the picture that that was toned figure, and that's really lean for toned figure. My body naturally reacts quite quickly, and I do lose weight quite quickly.
That's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing when you're dieting, but then you run the risk of being too lean and looking emaciated and a bit stringy.
Especially in categories like that, because it's not as straightforward as, say, like a male category where it could be just get as big and lean as what you possibly can within that weight class.
Yeah.
You have a specific, it's such a subjective look.
Oh, God,
do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
there's not really a tangible thing that you can be working towards.
No.
It's such a subjective, like, no, fantastic, but imagine that. You're just a bit too lean.
Just another 2 pounds. I have seen it before where girls have come in and they've gone, you're a little bit heavy. In fact, one of my other shows, actually, she came in, she'd won a show. I competed against her and I beat her because I was a bit leaner but not as muscle heavy. And then the feedback from the judges was, you need to get leaner. She competed in the NABA Universe 2 or 3 weeks later, a lot leaner, and didn't place as highly as what she wanted to.
Really?
Because it was just a dramatic look, but it's such a fine line between how much do you lose, how much do you not, how tight do you come in, So it is very difficult for ladies. Yeah,
it's crazy. So looking at that then, what's your next show after here then that we've got?
So that was 2016 October. I then took I walked away from the stage to actually recover my glutes. And this was the Dave Foster's show, the Miss Yorkshire. So this is the one where I won my category in toned, and as you can see, look from the midsection on its own, it's a lot more soft. It's not as tight and as stringy, and I've actually got some shape and some definition to my glutes and my legs, and my delts as well. I grew some.
I've got to say that the one thing that pops out there is definitely those two things next to your clavicles. Yeah, they're definitely popping.
And I won the overall in that show as well.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And then, so what were the time difference between those two pictures?
So that will have been almost a year, so October through to September. So it will have been like 7 or 8 months off season, and then 3 months prepping again.
And that so off the back end of your show, did you almost have a bit of a recovery period and then went actively straight into an off season where you started pounding the calories in, training on point and stuff?
So I went from, it's very similar to what I've done this time actually. So November, December kind of very relaxed, and then January hit straight onto very structured, very heavy, high calorie loaded diet, and heavy training, really good structured training.
That's good. And did you write that up yourself, or did you get a plan from somebody?
No, I'm currently working with Steve Johnson. Steve Johnson is a very highly respected judge, bodybuilder in his own right, coach, PT, within the bodybuilding industry. And from my very first show in 2016, Steve was one of the guys that gave me feedback, and has seen me then progress. So when I asked to work with him in November, he kind of jumped at the chance.
That's good, because I mean, he's been able to see it from the very start as well, and so he's been able to almost see the potential in the physique, and now he's got an opportunity to work with it to add what he wants to add to it, because obviously with him being a judge as well, that judge's eye is something completely different to, say, for example, a coach that isn't, because they know specifically the criteria that each category needs to fall into.
Absolutely.
So just on that point then, what do you feel like the importance of having a coach is?
It is so important. I worked with a coach in all through my competitions, all through all prep, apart from the last one that I did. So I worked from July 2018. I was preparing for the NABA Universe and the IBFA Worlds in Rome. And I knew what the structure was with the training. I knew the diet structure. I I know my macros, I know
Right.
this, I know that, and the knowledge is there, and I know
Yeah.
exactly how to manipulate and change what I need to when I need to. But when it come to the actual prepping, every time I looked in the mirror, I went, I'm too fat.
Yeah.
I haven't got lean enough. And I looked at myself. I look back now on a video that I took of myself 4 weeks out in the gym and went, I was stage ready. But I still continued to diet, and I still continued to cardio, and because all I could see was, I still got that wrinkle here or this here, and I need to get. So I then spent 4 weeks just not losing muscle, but not
over dieting almost to the point of getting on there.
Absolutely.
So and again, it's that you look at yourself too critically.
Oh God, yeah.
When nobody's going to be a worse judge of you than yourself at times, and you know that when you're trying to diet for a holiday, and every time you look in the mirror, basically,
it's not working.
Yeah, it's not working. Why is it not working?
Yeah.
So you actually can't be having that second set of eyes, and almost like just somebody to talk to, and just kind of get things off your chest. And there's always going to be questions, and especially when you've got that dieting baby brain a couple weeks before you go onto stage, last thing that you want to start thinking about is sodium and bloody water retention and kind of like with water loading, carb loading, working out your macros and all that. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So when you can easily talk yourself into something being an absolute fantastic idea, or you can easily talk yourself into just doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Believing that you're doing the right thing. Whereas if you get a coach, if you get an experienced coach that's got a trial record and a past history of working with different types of people,
yeah, absolutely,
then they'll have more experience that they can recall from if they've got notes on their other competition preps that they've done with people, to say, right, okay, I've seen this situation before. We're not going to panic.
Yeah.
All you need is X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And just even having the luxury of having that is worth a coach in my eyes.
I think. Absolutely. Yeah. The only thing I will say is with coaches is do your research into a good coach. Look for somebody that's experienced, and don't overpay.
Yeah.
If a coach is worth his money, it won't be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds really daft, but if they're worth, if they are going to give you what you need, and they're not just in the industry to get rich, it won't be an expensive coach.
Yeah. I think as well, if you've come into this industry to get rich, you're in the wrong industry.
Absolutely. That's never gonna happen.
But I definitely agree with you on that. It comes back to what I said previously, choose your mentors, because a coach as well needs to be a mentor. And if this is something that you're genuinely passionate about as an athlete, then at some point you're going to want to gain knowledge about it at the same time. So choose your coach to almost be somebody that you take their opinion to be a very trustworthy one.
Absolutely.
And you want to learn from them at the same time as working from them.
Yeah.
Especially if maybe that's something that you want to go into later on, and start offering coaching out to people as well. So big believer in that. What about having a coach in an off season? Have you thought about that?
I've been working with Steve. I have been working with Steve. Yeah. The thing is, I actually struggled this off season.
Right.
More so than what I do. I prep really well.
Yeah.
So because I lose weight quite easily, and for me, I have this whole mentality that food is just fuel. I don't crave certain things like some people do.
Yeah.
So like, I know I need my carbs for my fuel and my proteins for my growth. And if I don't get that and that, then I can't have a piece of cake,
Yeah.
I don't see food as that. So when I've been working with Steve, Steve's given me my diet, and he's given me a plan that I need with excess calories as and when. But I've really kind of like, I've actually put on 30 pounds over stage weight. That's why I'm currently sitting at 30 pounds over stage weight, which is the heaviest I've been in probably about 5 years.
Yeah. And
for me, nothing fits, and I've had to buy new gym wear, and I really did have a struggle with it.
So are you talking like the more mental side of things?
Absolutely. Yeah, mentally. But as you say, I went to Steve with a I feel horrendous, Steve, and he was brilliant, and he sat and he listened and he advised, and he sort of like, gave me praise on that. Well, you might feel like that, but your glutes have obviously grown and your delts look stronger now, and You know, so,
Yeah.
and the thing is, he's quite good with his measurements. So he takes a lot of, every time I see him, takes body fat measurements, and there's been clear
That's good.
progression in muscle development. So
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just can't see it.
Yeah.
So even in off season, I've found it really beneficial.
But that, like you said, even though that's more of a mental struggle. 'Cause I always came back to the thought of, before you'd started doing shows and things like this, lean meant something different in your head. Lean meant going on holiday with a couple abs showing.
Yeah.
And now, once you've been stage lean, nothing that may even come to the sight of a vein through the bicep, you'd even consider it being lean.
No.
So it's just a total different mentality to it. And then that effectively changes with your head. And messes with your head. I remember going on holiday one time and actually not wanting to take my top off, just for the sheer fact of that kind of, it's almost like a post-competition depression that you go through, where it's like, where it's like you've been piling your mouth with, piling your body with all different sorts of food that you haven't been able to eat in such a long time. You totally rebound, blow out backwards, and then you put on a little bit more weight. You're still relatively, like, if you were to just take yourself out of your own body and stare at yourself from a third-person point of view, you'd relatively look at yourself and think, oh, no, he's in good shape.
Right,
but in your head, you're thinking, you slob. How have you got like that? You don't even deserve to take your top off on holiday and all that type of stuff. And it does really affect you after.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, I'm very lucky, in fact, to be fair, because I've got a partner at home and 2 children that are very, very supportive. So whenever I do have a struggle, like, oh, I'm really struggling with this, you know, they are always on the back of that. Oh yeah, but you look beautiful and you're training hard and look what you've done. And that family unit, having that behind you was a massive help this off season.
That's brilliant to hear. And that brings us basically onto our next point there, where I've talked about, if people listening and have listened this far in might be thinking that you're brilliant and you've done all of this, you've had all the time to be able to go to the gym. Well, actually, Kirsty hasn't. But Kirsty's been able to find time, haven't you? I mean, I think as well, what shouldn't be underestimated is, fair enough, if you're living at home with your parents and you've got a part-time job and you've got no commitments, it can be relatively quite easy to diet for a show and do all of the training. But when like yourself, you work full-time, you're a mother of 2, you've got a partner at home, how have you managed to actually balance all of that?
Do you know what? Surprisingly easily, and that might shock people, but with my job is very, very good, and Eden have been supportive of me throughout and the competitions that I've been doing, but it's very flexible. So, for example, if I get to finish early one day at 4 o'clock, I can run home and nip to the gym for an hour, and then pick the children up and then go home. You know. Sometimes it might be that I work late one night, so I'm working till 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock. But then the day after, I can take a couple of hours back and then use that time for the gym. So it does work for me. But I suppose even for a standard 9 to 5, cardio-wise, my day starts when I'm in prep at 5:30. I'm up and out within 10 minutes, 45 minutes cardio, and then I'm back before 6:30, which is when I would normally get up anyway. Get ready, get the kids ready, go to work, come home, feed the kids, do what I need to do, go to the gym, come home. And then, you know, so it's, I think because because my 2 children are a little bit, they're a little bit older, they do understand how much of a passion it is for me. And they are so supportive of it. They've been to every single show that I've done.
Brilliant.
They come to all the shows. They love it. In fact, my daughter's a better judge than I am. She's brilliant. She loves it. But I think having that, and then, like you say, having my partner behind me, it wouldn't have worked without them. It wouldn't have worked without them.
Having a strong inner circle is very important, isn't it, when you're doing something like this? It's if they, like you've said, they understand how much it means to you. It's like everybody can have a hobby. It can be racing cars. It could be I don't know, painting pictures. But imagine if you had that hobby and it were to paint pictures, but then your other half or your children always said that your pictures look rubbish. Then you're not going to particularly stay in that hobby for that long a period, are you? Whereas if they were to, like, big you up and say how good that your pictures are and so on and so forth, then you're going to get more buzz out of that, and you're going to want to do more because you're making them proud. And it's just that whole kind of inner circle positivity that you get, which you've got. Do you know what I mean? Your children are involved, your other half's involved in it, they're all supporting each other. And when you've talked about your structure of your day, waking up before, it sounds like you actually do get it really structured. Everything's like like tick box, yep, done my cardio, tick, right, morning routine, get the kids ready, tick, right, get ready for work,
it really is.
Yeah,
my diet prep, when I'm cooking, I do my cooking on I'm so religious with it. On a Sunday and a Wednesday, I do my cooking for 3 days. Yeah. And on a Sunday, I cook fresh for the family. Even though I'm in prep, I still prep food, but for the family.
Yeah.
But I've literally got it down to 45 minutes now.
Have you? Yeah.
You can do 3 days prep in 45 minutes.
Bloody hell, yeah.
I've got this down now.
Fancy doing mine as well, well, right.
I did say that. I was like, 2 hours, I can make a full-on business out of this twice a week.
Because, again, if we've got any listeners that have also got children, how do you kind of talk to me? Because obviously I don't know about it as well, but when you're cooking, are you the cook at home?
Yes.
I take it. So when you're cooking your meals compared to like cooking it for a family as well, is there any conflict within that, or?
Not really. So, like I say, they are used to me having my Tupperware anyway, so through the week we're at work or school either way, so it doesn't really make a difference. On an evening, we don't generally eat together anyway because of time frames. Right, yeah. But on a weekend, for example, I'll have chicken and maybe potatoes or rice or something like that. They love it. They're very happy to eat the same as what I'm eating. A really good example, last weekend, I have 5% mince, which usually I'll have with just some vegetables. Yeah. And the kids wanted wraps. So the family, I made a massive kind of bolognese, but without all the sauces and stuff. With mince, stuck it in the middle of the table. The kids had wraps, and I had lettuce. Right. Yeah. So it doesn't need to detract from. Yeah. That's what I needed macro-wise in that particular meal. Yeah. So that's what I had.
It doesn't always have to be, you have to be sat in a corner with your chicken, broccoli and rice.
Absolutely
whilst they're having a lasagna that you've just made for them.
Absolutely not. And to be fair, even if we are eating together and we're eating different things, I will cook it so that we're all eating at the same time, even if we're eating different things, because mine's already pre-made in Tupperware. Yeah. I'll still make it so that we can sit together and eat together.
That's good.
And like Sunday dinners, the only difference is I have my weighing scales, so I can weigh my chicken before I put it on my plate.
Weigh your Yorkshire pudding. See what you're getting involved in that.
That's it. That's the only difference. Yeah. Mine's weighed and theirs is not.
Brilliant. I think that as well sets a good... You're being a good role model towards your children there. You're showing discipline and what discipline can award you to get in the future. And that's maybe hopefully going to be a good knock-on positive effect for when they later get into life, definitely. That if you set your mind to achieving something and you genuinely want something to work and you work hard for it, then it happens, and that's where this big lady comes from. Yeah. That's fantastic, that, Kirsty. So have you got any plans moving forward with have you got any competitions that you're looking to get involved with later on in the year?
I have, yes. Yeah. So I have actually got my check-in tomorrow with my coach Steve. Yeah. And prep starts on Monday.
Prep starts on Monday, wow.
It does, yeah. Prep starts on Monday.
So I'll just pause you there. Is there anything this weekend that's going to be eaten?
There's lots of things that's going to... Well, it was my birthday last weekend as well. So we literally rotated everything around food.
Right, did it? Yeah.
We went out for breakfast, we went out for lunch, we went out for dinner. So everything was food-centred last weekend. So I've still eaten clean anyway through the week. I eat really clean through the week, and I only have weekends to indulge anyway. So,
but I think just to pause you there, that when you talk about a structured off season, that's it. Do you know what I mean? It's actually still hitting your macros, still hitting your quantities of certain foods that you need to have in order to initiate that growth that you want it to do. That's not going to happen by dominoes every night, is it?
Absolutely not.
No. Well, you will get growth, but in a different way.
No,
adipose tissue, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So plans for this weekend.
So
Dominoes?
I've got my check-in on Saturday, and then I'm going to eat. And then Sunday I'm judging all day, so I'll get whatever is on offer.
You'll have just grenade bars all day, probably and water. Yeah.
And then, prep starts Monday. So normally I'll do usually I do a 12-week prep, but this year, on Steve's advice, we're doing a very slow 15-16 weeks prep. So hopefully I'm going to compete in the NABA England, which is Midlands. Yeah. And which, if I do well in that one, that will qualify me for the NABA Universe, where I can try and redeem myself from last year a little bit.
Right, yeah.
And then IBFA Doncaster, which one of my good friends is hosting.
Very good.
So I will be looking to do that one as well.
Supporting the local shows.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do the Castleford UK, because I've come fourth every time I've done that show, and it's irritating me.
The one at the Civic Centre in Castleford, that one, yeah.
I need to get at least there.
Yeah.
That is the one show that is like my little nemesis.
That's it. You'll just keep knocking at that door before you put your boot through it.
I am going to just keep going into that show until I win it one day.
Fantastic. So yeah, we'll look to wrap this up here now, Kirsty. So is there any thank yous or anything that you want to, or plugs that you want to put in there for anybody?
Well, obviously Eden Training Solutions.
Yeah.
Just to plug the training company that I work for, we offer bespoke training for small to medium employers, and also for larger employers around not only fitness but also management, business, customer service, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also just want to mention my bikini lady as well.
Brilliant.
So Babette, she does. She's the owner of Divas Fitwear. She's been amazing. She's been doing deep tissue massage with me and cupping, and she's been helping to get me all spick and span, and she's
brilliant.
It's going to be starting on my bikini soon. So
So is there anything that you can contact your bikini woman through? Does she have a Facebook page or website?
She's on Facebook page and Instagram at Divas Fitwear.
Yeah.
But you can just Google Divas Fitwear. She's got a really lovely website. All the suits are on there, but they are all made to measure. She also has a bikini hire service now as well, so you can hire a bikini for £115 instead of paying £300 for one.
No way.
Which
is that how much they are?
They're very expensive. Gosh, yes, they're not cheap.
Keep me in the board shorts.
And that's not that. I've known girls some to pay like £400 or £500 for bikinis.
Wow.
I set myself a budget.
Yeah.
And then go.
I know somebody's paid 400 for one before.
400.
To be fair, I've been very smart this year, because I knew I had an off season. I went to Babette and went, Babette, this is my budget, send me an invoice. So she invoiced me through PayPal, and then sort of each month I'd be like, there's 20 quid, there's 30 quid, it's paid. My bikini's paid for now, so she's just got to make it.
Rather than say just like, 300 quid for a bikini. That's when you start to think that it's
when you've got to pay for
expensive.
Registrations, and then your membership, and then your hair, your makeup, shoes, tan. Jewellery.
It's an expensive do, isn't it?
It is,
especially if you start to calculate how much that you spend on food.
No.
As well.
Don't. So forward planning with that's made a massive difference to me.
£40 board shorts will be fine.
£40, even that's expensive. I'm at Night Junction 32 outlet trying to find a pass me some from the discount shelf, thank you very much. The more colourful the better, though.
That's it, man.
That's it. No, fantastic. And if anybody wants to get in contact with you, Kirsty, how do they do that?
So I am on Facebook, Kirsty Duffield, Kirsty Elise Duffield, should I say. And I am on Instagram. It's, K1S5TY.
So I've tagged you loads, don't worry.
I was just going to say it's quite...
we'll tag you in.
You will have to, because it's quite a strange name, but Instagram or Facebook.
That's it. So again, if you wanted to see any more of like Kirsty's stage photos and things, by all means go on her Instagram page, and they'll be on there, won't they?
Yep.
And
if there's anything with regards to posing, give me a bell.
Because you also do that as well, don't you?
I do offer posing coaching,
Posing coaching, because we've talked about the purpose of posing, why it needs to be looked upon as a necessity when you come to doing it. So I mean, by all means, especially for you female competitors out there that might feel a bit foreign doing it, by all means get in contact with Kirsty, especially with a dance background.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll help. So we'll wrap it up there. So again, thanks for listening, guys. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast episode and channel, on iTunes. We're also on Spotify. And if you're wanting to see the pictures that we've gone through today, by all means have a look, because this will be on our YouTube channel as well. So be sure to rate our podcast channel. That'll really help us out. And thank you very much for listening. And thank you, Kirsty, for coming in and joining. Thank you.